Yeah, show me my opponent. Top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only, can't call me. I remember feeling lonely. I remember when they told me I would never get the trophy. Show me my opponent. Top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only, can't clone me. I remember feeling hungry. Now I'm coming for the trophy. Cause this is my moment. I'm a ball till I fall, I'ma answer the call. I'm a beast, I'm a dog, and my back against the wall. I accept every challenge, had to battle for my balance. From a peasant to the palace, treat the trophy like a chalice. Stayed on my grind, great things take time. Now how I shine, you might go blind. Come along for the ride, cause I'm headed to the top with it. Going is my only option, they can never ever stop it. Show me my opponent, top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only, can't clone me. I remember feeling lonely. I remember when they told me I would never get the trophy. Show me my opponent. Top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only, can't clone me. I remember feeling hungry. Now I'm coming for the trophy. Cause this is my moment. My moment. So many days, so many nights, I had to fall, I had to fight, I had to find the strength inside, keep hope alive. Through the dark, I found my light and now I shine. So many days, so many nights, I had to fall, I had to fight, I had to find the strength inside, keep hope alive. Through the dark, I found the light and now it's mine. Cause this is my moment. My moment. Cause this is my moment.
Tonight on Countdown to Green, we take a look at all the action from Talladega Super Speedway. We talk with the drivers over at eRacer, and we take a look at how you're racing at home with the Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
'Cause we're invincible.
The eNASCAR Racing Series. This is Countdown to Green, presented by Wendy's. I swear, like, behind the scenes, we're just jamming out to that opening song. I'm your host, Camille Salter-Hadaway. Joining me, as always, we have Alan Cavanna and Blake McCandless. And as you can see, I got lost in the music for a bit there.
Hey, it happens to all of us. It's going to be an exciting night. We're going to virtual Las Vegas. The only time I can go to Vegas and not lose any money. I'm so happy about that.
I'm happy to be here tonight as well, Alan. And to get back to kind of a traditional mile and a half, it's been a while since we visited that in this series. I'm excited to see who's going to bring the speed tonight.
Yes, and although our money's not up for grabs, there is a lot at stake because we are getting closer and closer to the cash prize and the championship. We are almost halfway through this series, but before we look ahead, you know what we gotta do. We gotta take a look back at Talladega.
Pace car is down. The field is in the hands of Colin Keister, and the Biggie Bag 500 is underway. Oh, trouble. In the back of the field, a huge crash. You can see Jimmy Mullis, Michael Conti, Dylan Duval. It looks like Jordy Lopez Jr. is wrapped up in this one as well, as things went awry in the midfield entering turn number 3. Pace car is off, and the field is in the hands of Zach Novak and Colin Bowden. Trouble at the front of the field. Tyler Gary, Alan Bowes, and a couple of others got all jumbled up at the front of the field, and the caution flag is out for the second time. Trouble, Michael Cozy Jr. hard to the outside wall into turn number 1. Caution is out. A couple of more cars slide down the banking. Oh, trouble. Zach Novak goes around. Caution is out, as things got all jumbled up here in turns 3 and 4. There's trouble in turns 3 and 4. Caution flag is back out, and it may be, yes it is, Vicente Salas. Overtime attempt number 1 with Malik Ray and Colin Keister, your top 2 runners. We are back underway here in the Biggie Bag 500. Graham Bolin has a run. Casey Kerwin goes with them. Malik Ray and Derek Bordeaux side by side with Graham Bolin and Casey Kerwin, your top 5. Malik Ray has the run up top, down towards the dry oval for the final time. Bordeaux goes to the outside. Bolin looking for a way around. They crash behind Malik Ray. Will anybody else have a run? And Casey Kerwin wins it by 34 1/1000ths of a second as he just robs Malik Ray of his first eNASCAR win. And you're going to see the results of that win for Casey Kerwin. He gets it done at Talladega for his first super speedway win in this series this season. As you can see, Casey Kerwin in the win column and Malik Ray inside the top 10 above that red cut line to get into the postseason, but of course does not have that win. He's doing it on points right now. You look to the right-hand side of your screen, trio of drivers in Keister, Vincent, and Matt Busa, as well as even a little further down, you see Michael Guest has worked his way into the top 20 in the standings, Alan.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the team standings. You can see a big jump for Team X Set, repping the set, getting that win, move them up 3 spots. Jim Beaver Esports up 5 spots. Still, everybody still chasing Team Dillon Esports, making a little bit of a gap there on William Byron Esports, but you can see that entire page there. Anyone on the right side, those teams got to pick it up. We're almost halfway through this regular season. Got to pick it up if you want those team standings.
Well, Talladega meant a lot to these drivers. Well, let's talk about it, Blake. What were your thoughts coming out of Talladega?
The one thing I think coming out of Talladega is something that we've had the last number of years, and that's the fact that I think we're going to get to 10 wins easily in this season. We only have one driver who's a repeat winner so far, and it just seems like that's been the theme of this series the last several years. We only take 10 into the playoffs. It has been a win only that has gotten you into the playoffs each of the last 2 seasons, and I think at least almost halfway through this season, we've seen no different signs. We are well on our path to having over 10 winners in this regular season, Alan.
Yeah, and I just think about the missed opportunities for some of these drivers at getting that win at Talladega. Think of a guy like Colin Bowden, 36th in points right now. Only way he's getting in the playoff is with a win, and he came within inches of getting it. Same thing for Malik Ray. You know, he's right on that bubble line, just missed out on the win. Wyatt Tinsley as well. There were some drivers who needed that win, were so close, and they're going to look back on Talladega as a missed opportunity because they gave it back to the champ, and who was able to get Colin Kerwin, who was able to get his win, and that was a big deal for him.
A big deal indeed, and like you mentioned, we are almost halfway through the series, so there's a lot going through all the drivers' mind. And you know what? Why don't we check in with them? How about we'll make it double, because we have 2 Collins on the way. Let's check in with eRacers drivers, Colin and Colin.
Returning to eRacer, they're just a fun team to be around. Parker and Landon, they kind of let me be my personality, which shows up. So, and I can go to the races with them, hang out with them at the racetrack. So it was a good match for me. They let me be myself. I can have pretty much any fun I want to, say almost what I want to. So there's no big stipulations on what I have to do. I can just be me.
New team I'm with this year is eRacer, and I really wanted to work with Parker Kligerman, Landon Castle, and it's also my teammate Colin. So we got the Colin and Colin show. Our owners, Parker and Landon, I hadn't had much interaction with them, but I always see them on Twitter and stuff making jokes. And I talked to Colin Bowden, and he says they're always joking around, which I like that atmosphere, you know, just having a good time.
I'm an engineer on a submarine, believe it or not. I know that might not look like it, but I work on submarines. We overhaul old ones and just engineer stuff on that side of aspect of it. Most people just don't know I'm like we're an engineer on submarines, so that would be probably the thing people don't know about it. They wouldn't guess that one.
Racing in front of a live crowd, I would look forward to doing that. I did that last year with Charlotte Phoenix. It was myself, Graham Bolin, Michael Conti, and Briar LaPrade, and that was definitely a new experience for me and an interesting one for sure. And I did have a good time. The only thing it's loud. I can tell you, a different atmosphere, that's for sure. Instead of just sitting in my room doing it, to be in front of a live crowd, going for the championship, it would mean a lot. And just going for the championship alone, you know, that's big. And doing it in front of a live crowd would be very cool.
To be a Final Four driver, I really don't think about that, because there's going to be some crazy stuff happen if I ever make it there. So it'd be pretty cool, but like that's not one of them dreams we have. It would mean $100,000, and it'd help my gambling career out a little better. I bet anywhere from football. I got football bets coming up this afternoon. I bet on Korean baseball at 4 a.m. in the morning before. It's covered it all.
My secret to victory for the season would just stay mistake free and be consistent, qualify up front, and go about that.
Secret to victory is wreck whoever I got to get them out of the way if I need to win, whatever it takes. Man, if I win a race this year, ain't no telling what we'll be in store for. We could. It'd definitely be something we ain't never seen before, because I got Coke and Jack Daniels beside me there, so we might have a little drinking party in the victory lane if we win.
I mean, it's always a good time.
Oh, they may have lost some races, but those two have never lost the party. That's why I can't wait to see them when they do finally get the victory, because it will be a great party. Looking forward to their success in the future.
They have not lost a party. I remember going into that media day and seeing them at about 7 a.m. that morning. I can assure you they did not lose the party the night before.
Well, let's keep the party going because we are at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So let's play a little game of roll 'em or fold 'em. Now, this is where I'm going to ask you both a couple questions, one each, and I want to know if you're going to roll it or you're going to fold it. So let's start with the first one. This one's for you, Alan. You ready?
Go ahead.
All right. Will we see more than 10 winners this series?
More than 10 winners this season? I say fold them. No way. We get some repeat winners. We've already had Bobby Z get another win. Casey Kerwin, the past champion, he might get another win before the regular season ends. So I say no way. More than 10 winners? No way.
I see Blake saying no way to you.
I mean, you just stole my whole thought from Talladega. Come on, man. Less than 10?
Yeah,
Not happening.
Yeah, we're getting less than 10, definitely.
All right, well, let's give Blake a chance here. Blake, will Bobby Z make the championship 4?
You know what? I'm going to say roll him. I'm going to say yes. And Bobby already has 2 wins. We go to the Chicago Street Course in a couple weeks. I think that's a track that he can build some more playoff points at. So I have a feeling he's going to go into the playoffs as the top seed. And the fact that we have 3 races to get into that championship 4, I think being that top seed is going to be helpful for him. He has the championship 4 experience. So, yeah, I'm all in on Bobby Z making the championship 4 for sure.
Blake, I only disagree with you because how many times can he do it in a row? He's done it so many times. Just the math, the statistics say there's no way he can do it again. So I went against you and said fold him.
Well, it was the fastest car at Phoenix, and that is our last race before we go into the championship 4. So
I feel like I got to stop you both because it's going to get a little heated, and we want to save the heat because we still have more questions. So let's talk about repeats. Alan, do we think that Casey Kerwin will be able to take the champion again?
Oh, absolutely. Roll him for the 95, repping the set. How could I pick against him? I picked him to win Talladega, and he goes out and wins it for me, gets me some good points in our standings, in our competition. But I just see that I see those qualities that made him a champion. Those haven't gone away. He's only gotten better. So, of course, he should be amongst the favorites, if not the favorite, to get another championship. Casey Kerwin repeats.
Repeat for Casey, according to Alan. But Blake, I want to know, do you think a rookie will make championship 4?
You know, I've been impressed with our rookie class, but I'm going to say fold him. I don't think we're quite ready to see a rookie in the championship 4. You have to get a win to do it. And despite the fact that we have 6 rookies in the top 20, which if you look back at series history, pretty good considering the last couple of years, but there's only 1 rookie that has a win. And I think it's going to take a win to get into the postseason. It's only Tucker Minter back at Daytona who won. So I don't think we're going to see a rookie in the championship 4, although we may get 1 or 2 in the playoffs.
Alan, is he being too hard? Maybe a little too hard?
Look, I agree there. It's supposed to be hard for rookies, and it's supposed to be hard for them in a series like this, the best of the best. No way a rookie makes it the first.
All right, well, for you, Alan, I have to ask you, will someone play the points game to get into the playoffs?
I think to stay consistent, the answer is yes, roll. Because if we don't get more than 10 winners, someone's going to get in on points, and that's important, which means you have to be consistent. And look, I believe in the Bobby Z's of the world, the Casey Kerwins, Michael Contis. I think they'll get more wins in the regular season. That just puts that total down there a little more. It means more people get in on points. So yeah, roll them. We'll have a points person in the playoffs this year.
All right, and Blake, for the final question, do we see the same team and driver win the championship?
Well, I'm going to go with Foldham once again. I don't think that we'll see a team and a driver carry both the team and the drivers championship. We don't have any pair of drivers that both have wins and have locked their way into the drivers playoffs. Of course, the team standings accumulate all year. And I think a lot of what you see is either two drivers that are around 10th or one that is doing great, like Junior Motorsports and Michael Conti, who leads the regular season points, and then the teammates haven't quite matched that performance yet. So I don't think we're going to see the same team also carry their driver to the drivers championship.
All right, Alan, I have to get your take on that one too, since it's the last one.
Yeah, look, Blake and I disagree on a lot of things. We definitely agree on this one. Just like he said, he put it perfectly. There's not a lot of balance to some of these teams. One teammate is doing great, the other one's sort of struggling. When you have that, you're not going to have that balance where you can get both the team and driver championship.
All right. Well, if we could all agree on one thing, I think it's the fact that we have quite a bit fun looking at the rigs of all the viewers, of all of you at home. So you know what it is. It's time for Logitech's Tweet Us Your Rigs. This is our chance where we get to see your rigs at home. And our first one is brought to you by Big Squish. Big Squish, this looks pretty comfy.
Well, yeah, Big Squish. My bad. I was looking at it, trying to really, a nice rig there. Very comfy looking. Cable issues. I see a few cables there, but I like the wrap around the 3 monitors. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, could do with a little bit of cable management, that's for sure. But we have our next one. I'm loving this one from Frank Flores. You have Countdown to Green and you're racing Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's in the cockpit. He's on pit road at Talladega while watching the broadcast. I wouldn't recommend driving and doing that at the same time, but you know what? Props to Frank here, and a really nice setup, too. He's even got the Michael Conti sticker in the top right-hand corner.
Now we have Ricky Gonzalez, and here we see, wait a second. Do we see a Bowman fan?
Oh, yeah, big Alex Bowman fan, and if that's his driver, root for recovery for Alex Bowman, who had a tough one in a sprint car there, but he's also supporting the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Look, teddy bears, Alex Bowman, Red Raiders, whatever you like, put it in your rig.
And our next one, this is no stranger here. We have Justin bringing us a decent rig.
Yes, this is very, very good. It recently got the wide monitor for Justin. It has an FTF broadcast up on the side. I love the fixture of the lights with traction. You got the neon green and the bright pink. It's a nice looking rig. A lot of things packed in here that are pretty special to Justin, but nice to see him support as well. Even has a wind sticker as a part of that hat. It's always nice to see.
All the memorabilia. I just love it. Our next one, Ray Morgan. Ray the Aussie. We have an Aussie here.
Yeah, I like it. All right, nice and simple. Deck chair, cushions for comfort. You got to be comfortable inside the car. But look at that lamp. That is a Mario Kart lamp. It really completes the room. Reminds me of Mario Kart, which I am an expert at. Not iRacing, not the Coke series. Can't touch that. But you get me on Mario Kart 64. Me and Ray, we're going to be good.
Yeah, Ray's getting ready to throw that piranha plant. I see you, Ray. Our next one is lightly fried potato wedges. I prefer more crisp wedges myself, but this is a decent starter setup.
It is. You got the single monitor. I believe that's a VR headset right there. So I know a lot of drivers kind of like to experiment with some of the virtual reality stuff, which especially in dirt racing, if you love iRacing, very, very cool.
Well, remember to show us your rigs at home by using the hashtag eNASCAR and tagging iRacing as well. We love to see your rigs, and we love to see maybe Countdown to Green in all of these photos now. I feel like a trend has to be started here. Let's see if next show we could get just Countdown to Green in all of the screens whenever we see your rigs. But first, we did get to see from the drivers from eRacer. Well, it's only right that we talk to the owners.
Yeah, 2 owners I'm pretty familiar with. They're racing on the weekends. Landon Castle and Parker Kligerman, kind enough to join us here and join us in the real world and in the world of iRacing. So that's always good to see. Now, they're both joining us here, so we'll hear from both of them. But, they've been a part of the series for so long now. What keeps you coming back year after year? Landon, we'll start with you.
We just love it. We love iRacing. We love the whole platform and what we're able to do with our partners. And and our community. I mean, I feel like we've been able to use iRacing not only as a platform to train ourselves as professional drivers, but to build our communities up and to build the e-racer community. So to have a Coke Series team, an eNASCAR team, and put on our events with e-racer like the Firecracker 400 and have these amazing drivers, Colin Keister, Colin Bowden, and these amazing cars. It's just been good for us, and we've had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. As Landon said, it's been fun, right? Like we wouldn't. It's fun. It's rewarding. There's a lot of cool things that we get out of it in that sense, in terms of giving back to the community and sort of having something to be involved with the community that's so near and dear to our heart. As he put it, we use iRacing as a tool for us being professional drivers, but we also just enjoy iRacing, enjoy sim racing, and seeing it be done at the highest level. And we've got two awesome drivers in the Collins, as I call them, who have been up front often this year and, sort of been in the conversation for wins. So it's just really fun to be able to, tune in on Tuesday nights and watch eNASCAR and know we have two cars out there that we're a part of, that our partners are a part of, and especially when we can get to victory lane, which would be awesome.
Yeah, no doubt you picked some good, entertaining drivers. We appreciate that. But you also mentioned how iRacing is a tool for your professional lives on the weekend. Parker, let's start with you. How do you use iRacing as a professional driver?
Well, iRacing has been a part of my preparation as a professional race car driver since really the beginning of iRacing back in 2009 era. And as a young kid that was trying to make it, I raced every single night. And I felt like in a lot of ways I was, sort of creating the 10,000 hour theory of if I can be racing a car, even virtually, every single day, every night, that's just gonna make me better in the real world. And I really felt like it had a huge part of my success. And then as I've gone up, through my career, and obviously gotten older, I still use it because I think I've found ways to use it even better, right? As I've become more knowledgeable about the sport and about the cars, I've found ways to extract even more from iRacing. And then lastly, I just have fun. Like the thing I love about iRacing is you can be racing a short track in a late model at 8 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock, you can be in a V8 supercar in Bathurst, and then you can be, I don't know, anywhere you want, Imola in an F1 car, and then back to be turning qualifying laps at the Indy 500, like all in the same night. And I just think for someone like myself who loves all of motorsports, I get to experience so many different facets of motorsports in the real world as a spectator and as a driver. But then in this realm, I kind of get to find out what it would even be like just to be in a totally different world of the motorsports world. So I love that. I think it's so much fun. And, as a driver professionally, it helps me, but the fun I have with it is the biggest part.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm with him on the fun part, because it's, to me, I grew up racing the NR, 2K3, NASCAR racing. I think NASCAR Racing 2 was my first venture into Papyrus. So I was too young to race it for real. I mean, I was racing on a keyboard and I was 8-9 years old with those games, so they were much of a game to me. But by the time iRacing came out, I was pretty serious about it and used it to help prepare myself for my first cup starts, because I was going to racetracks that I'd never been to, and the only way for me to really get laps on them were on iRacing at the time in 2009, 2010. And beyond that, I mean, I've used it to really just tune some serious fundamentals in my driving, especially on road course racing, and many other styles of racing that we have to do as NASCAR drivers. But you can take it about as serious as you want to as a professional driver. I think with all the data that iRacing puts out, there's a lot you can dive into, and you can get extremely fundamental about it.
Hey, thank you guys for joining us. So cool to have you a part of this series. That's just so much legitimacy to have you here tonight and also on the weekend. Good luck to you guys in your season and your drivers tonight who are both racing in Vegas. Let's talk about some trends and some history that we've seen in Vegas, because there's a long one when it comes to the Coke Series. This is the 14th consecutive season that Las Vegas has appeared on the schedule, but only the third time it's been this deep, this far into the season. It's been the second race of the year for a long time. time on 8 different occasions. So this is a little different this year. Now, 5 drivers have earned their first series win at Las Vegas. 2 of them are racing tonight. Corey Vincent, Ryan Luza, who's done a bunch of winning here. Well, and only 2 drivers, though, have won a championship in the same year as winning Vegas, that being Kenny Humphrey and Ryan Luza. So a little fuzzy math there, but only 1 driver's ever won from the pole at Las Vegas. That was 12 years ago. Brad Davies way back in 2011. You can see the footage there, how different it was. 2 repeat winners at this track. Ryan Luza has actually done it 4 different times, and Jake Sturgis twice. He's won at Vegas. And then Ryan Luza, the only driver to advance to the championship 4 in the same year as winning Las Vegas. So look, everybody wants to win, but if you do win, I don't know if you make it to the championship 4, because only Ryan Luza has been able to do it, Camille.
That's right. It seems like it may not be lucky if you win this one. Maybe this is when you don't want to win.
Yeah, hey, we're just going with math and trends. Let's buck the trend tonight.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm pretty sure the drivers are just trying to get any win possible and break maybe the trend history there. But Blake, let's talk about Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Take us through what we could expect.
Well, it's a very unique racetrack, Camille. You take a look at it was open in 1996. Now, obviously went through a big repave in 2006, which, of course, is a part of this scan that iRacing had of this racetrack in about 2008 or 2009 or so. So you get the extra banking here, 20 degrees in both turns, 9 to 12 degrees on the straightaways, and especially in 1 and 2, very bumpy at that end of the racetrack. 3 and 4 are going to be wide open. You're going to see drivers on the bottom, in the middle, and on top of the racetrack. A very multi-groove friendly racetrack that I think these drivers are going to do a heck of a job putting on a great show for us. And again, looking back at those trends, Michael Conti, winner last year, I think the numbers would say he's likely not going to do that, if I was paying attention there when Alan was talking.
Trends could be different every year. We can switch them around. So let's talk about our picks. You know what? We got to start with you, Blake.
Well, I think tonight's going to be all about track position. I'm going to go with somebody who's very reliable when it comes to qualifying. I'm going to go with Keegan Leahy. Keegan Leahy, again, we've talked about many of the things he's been able to do in the real world these last couple of weeks with 2311, but I trust a driver that even if he's not going to win tonight, going to get some solid points, so I'm going with the 23 Logitech Toyota tonight, Alan.
All right, not a bad pick. Now, Blake, as the point leader, it must mean that I have great strategy in making these picks. Let me tell you the strategy I have. I saw this driver out at dinner the other night. That's all I needed. It was a sign from the iRacing heavens. Michael Conti wins tonight, goes back-to-back at Las Vegas. I'm the point leader. I know what I'm talking about.
Well, I would say your reason for choosing Michael Conti is probably not what you would expect, but I will say you know what you're talking about because I believe that he's going to win as well. Michael Conti is going to come again as the winner for this season, and hopefully that'll help me out with points.
Michael, buddy, I need you to crash, man. Big potential tonight.
Hey, no bad juju here. Come on, 8 car all the way, victory lane.
Yeah, we're keeping it positive here on Countdown to Green, presented by Wendy's. And with that, all of us here really are wishing all the drivers all the best. You know, let's take a look at some of these highlights from practice. Blake, what are your thoughts?
Well, there's a lot of drivers trying to kind of practice their pit exit. Again, we may see green flag pit stops tonight, so that's definitely going to be a part of things. I think what we just talked about in our track analysis right here, drivers running every single groove. You see drivers up on the top, you see drivers on the bottom, really going to be the case in 3 and 4. And then you see that opposite end of the racetrack we were talking about. It's really bumpy down in 1 and 2. Alan Bose takes a little bit of a spin. Not sure if he was on a Q run or not, but nevertheless, this is a racetrack where these drivers are going to have all the tools at their disposal to run where they feel comfortable with their car, so no shocker to see that in practice. And even the draft going to be a big part tonight, as you can see a lot of draft practice going on as well.
All right, so maybe a tricky one for the drivers, but we are wishing them all the best. And we're wishing you all the best with watching the race, which is coming up right after this break, so enjoy.
I need to try it first.
There's your biggie bag. All that food for $5, that's my go-to.
Ooh, that's my ride or die.
Just like you and me. Bag boys. Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
You can always bet on Biggie. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $5 biggie bag.
Here and now is when it matters most.
Heavy damage.
Not last month or last week or 48 laps ago when that bumper fell off. Here is where it must be left on the track. The anger, the hunger, the passion, and the drive to do whatever it takes to make it across that finish line first.
Blow those rear tires off us, bud.
Now is when the future is written. In the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
This is our series, where the stakes are always higher, where virtual meets reality. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Yeah, look at my shine with the blow. This is my time with it though. This is my time to be way at the top. Me and my guys gon' pay out the block. I don't look like Paul. Time's right, and I know the seats walking in a long night. Promise you won't wanna watch like a sci-fi. My guys are high risers, high time. My crown if you come to my side. I pledge allegiance for lifetime. My squad connected like Wi-Fi. We grind and you see the highlights. This my life. It ain't a game now. Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you wanna play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Don't step up to my team. Yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
To $300,000 heads west through the Silver State. We're in the shadow of the world-famous Las Vegas Strip stands iRacing's virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Home tonight to round number 7 of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the iRacing broadcast booth alongside Blake McCandless. My name is Evan Pasoko. Blake, after tonight, can you believe it? Halfway home this regular season already. You guys talked about extensively the playoff points, the standings headed into tonight on Countdown to Green, and every single Tuesday night from this point on out going to be that much more critical.
It is. Which one, Evan? Great to have you back here in your home state, in your home racetrack, I guess I should say. But yes, great to be back, and just really excited to get this one going tonight. I think these drivers have had this one circled on the calendar as a track that they really want to do well at, this being one of our first mile and a half of the year.
Vegas has been a staple on the calendar since this series started some 14 years ago, and while I missed out on Dega, Blake, I enjoyed your coverage from 35,000 feet on the way, but happy that I'm back for this one. It is really a fun racetrack, of course. It's my home track. I think all the fans at home tuning in have that connection to their local racetrack, whether it's your local short track, your local big NASCAR super speedway, where you went to your first race, and kind of for all of those, Las Vegas Motor Speedway complex checks all of the boxes in my book. It should be a really exciting race here tonight. Let's go trackside and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. And for the 17th time in his career, Keegan Leahy is on pole position tonight, representing the Logitech G Toyota for 2311 Racing. Of course, the team headed by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan, and he's joined on the front row by the Austin Dillon entry, the number 3, Jordy Lopez Jr. Row number 2, then we'll see Dylan Alt and Nick Ottinger line up side by side. They'll start 3rd and 4th position this afternoon. That's a Letard entry at William Byron Esports Chevrolet. And then as we continue on down to row number 3, you'll find the 77 machine of Ryan Doucette. He'll be alongside the Williams Esports 51 of Donovan Strauss. Row number 4, we'll see the number 18 Toyota of Bobby Zelensky with Joe Gibbs Racing alongside the Junior Motorsports number 8 of Michael Conti. And then rounding out our top 10 on row 5, it's the X-Set number 4 of Ryan Luza and the Rise Esports fueled by Sudoku 46 of Jimmy Mullis.
A row of rookies here with Parker White in the number 11 with Tony Kanaan, and Daniel Falkingham starting 12th with Joe Gibbs Racing. Kansas City Pioneers represented by Wyatt Tinsley in 13th. Garrett Lowe for Jim Beaver Esports rolls off from 14th. Caden Honeycutt for RFK starts in 15th tonight with Derek Justice just 3 spots behind his teammate for the Kansas City Pioneers in 16th. 17th for the other RFK entry directly behind his teammate is Timmy Holmes. The other front row entry in Alan Bose starts 18th. 19th in a very special Mark Martin paint scheme for Rise Esports tonight is your former series champion Zach Novak. And for the Pittsburgh Knights, Corey Vincent rounds out your top 20.
And how about a lot of rookie representation here? The Team Dillon 33 at Tucker Minter going to be alongside the FGR Excel E-Racing 14 of Joey Brown. And you continue on through now with some veterans. Dylan Duvall, the 41 car for Stuart Haas Esports. The outside, the number 10 of Stephen Wilson. They will make up row number 12. Rolling on through, Michael Cozy Jr., the rookie for Front Row Motorsports, starts his 38 machine alongside the XZ 95 of Casey Kerwin, who is coming off of a big race victory just a week ago at Talladega. Michael Guest, the second of that Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin 2311 team. It's his 45 on the inside, and the William Byron Esports 97 Matt Busa to the outside on row 14. And in your top 30, the Junior Motorsports 88 of Kevin King and the Elliott Sadler Esports 27 of Cody Bias.
You're essentially going to see what was up front at the end of the race at Talladega with Graham Bolin and Derek Bordeaux here in row 16 for the Charlotte Phoenix and Elliott Sadler Esports. Malik Ray, who came up just short for Jim Beaver Esports at Talladega last week, will roll off 33rd with FGR Excel's Garrett Maines in 34th. Tyler Gary, the other Tony Kanaan entry, will start in 35th tonight. The final driver to take time tonight for Latard Esports is Braden McKissick, a series rookie, and perhaps bad luck struck them, Evan. We talked to them in the pre-race show. Both these drivers did not take a time, and they will make up the caboose of the field tonight, row 19, for both E-Racer entries in Colin Keister and Colin Bowden.
Plenty of work to do for both of those entries on the back. Let's dial up our pole sitter. Keegan Leahy is on pole for the first time in 2023. Blake, you're with him.
Keegan Leahy, we got you dialed up. I know you've won a number of poles in your eNASCAR career. With that, how important is it to start up front in a race like this at Las Vegas?
Yeah, qualifying has always been a strong suit for me. Admittedly, this is a pretty easy track. All I had to do is hold it to the floor and try not to slide. I guess I held it to the floor better than everyone else, so happy about that. But, you know, it's a lot more difficult in the race here, where we're going to be lifting a lot in these corners, managing our tires, managing the draft, and honestly, I have a feeling I won't be holding this lead very long by the way this racing is at Vegas. But, you know, excited to have a good night tonight and hopefully finish well, maybe a win.
Well, Keegan, we'll let you get back to it. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk through this race and take a look at our Wendy's race analysis.
Going to be 100 laps tonight. Again, that is certainly going to allow some green flag pit stops should we hit in that fuel window, which is about 50 to 55 laps. There are 3 sets of Goodyear Racing Eagles down on the pit lane should they so choose. And I think one thing that's really interesting to note here, Evan, and we don't see it a lot in this series, is a day to night race at 6 p.m. in the sim. We often either race right at noon or dead in the afternoon or at night, but I think seeing the sun go down is going to change this track a little bit, change the handling of these cars as the day goes on.
And it's our second true mile-and-a-half race of the season. Blake, we were racing at Atlanta earlier this year, but I mean, that racetrack's so reconfigured to mirror more of a Daytona or a Talladega. Can we take any notes, or is all the super speedway racing so similar that we should be looking at a guy like a Stephen Wilson to come through the field?
Well, again, I think talking to these drivers pre-race, they kind of akin this racing to what we've been seeing at Atlanta. I know it's not truly a super speedway like you would call Atlanta Motor Speedway right now, but hearing Keegan's thoughts and a couple of these drivers before the grid, they expect this race to be crazy. It's going to be pack racing, a lot of draft, and again, a lot of different lanes for these drivers to try and go.
It is the 7th race of 14 on the regular season. After this one, 7 down, 7 to go before we know the field of 10 that will compete for the eNASCAR championship in 2023. Pace car will exit stage left, field in the hands of the 23 Toyota of Keegan Leahy as we say, let's go racing in Vegas. Small advantage to Leahy through the quarter, but as they head down the Nellis straightaway, 3 wide behind and change for the lead. Jordy Lopez Jr. goes to the lead early.
And Keegan said he wasn't sure how long he could hold the lead. Well, he wasn't able to hold the lead at all, at least not for a single lap as Jordy Lopez Jr. goes on by. And they are continuing to race 3 wide back here. You see Derek Justice all the way on the top. Some smoke up front, though, as one car gets loose. I think it was Honeycutt. He collects it up, yet they're still 3 wide, several rows deep here on lap number 2.
Well, you referenced the reconfiguration that Las Vegas went through a couple of years ago, and that higher and progressive bank surface gives you this 1, 2, 3 wide, make it 7, 8 rows deep here in the center of the field. Middle of that, all the number 6 of Timmy Holmes is right smack dead in the middle of this battle that's happening in the teens. You jump on board inside line of the racetrack. It's the 41 car of Dylan Duvall. There's an onboard perspective with him.
I think especially off of turn number 2, you're going to see that high side be really strong. If these drivers are correct in talking about how important the draft is, you're really going to want to get a run off of 2. 3 and 4, though, going to be a little bit of a different story. You can really make your car work very well on the bottom and in turn 4. But you can even see on board with Dylan Duvall here, and even in how he grabs the steering wheel. A lot of bumps at the bottom of 1 and 2 that kind of check up that inside lane a little bit.
Drivers will always tell you about the bump on the inside of 1 and 2, 3 to 4 here. That mimics, of course, what you see real life in Vegas. Of course, the real world surface has aged a little bit compared to this end, but exact same spot on track. And we've been talking about the Rise Esports fueled by Sudoku paint schemes all year, mimicking the cities and states into which this calendar has taken us through, in a beautiful Las Vegas inspired 46 Chevy tonight, as looking for a good run to boot is Jimmy Mullis right now inside of the top 10.
That he is, and even Brandon McKissick, Latardi Sports, brought a Vegas-inspired paint scheme out here to the racetrack this week. This is one we were looking at a little bit earlier. Zach Novak, you can see on board with him. Very, very cool throwback to Mark Martin. You may have seen him drive this race car in real life around Las Vegas Motor Speedway before the Cup Series race earlier this year. And Mark Martin, a very cool throwback paint scheme. And of course, Rise Esports, give a tip to the cap. They've been really bringing it with a lot of these throwback schemes all season long.
Paint schemes are always on point on a Tuesday night, and I know at least my Twitter circle, when the numbers moved up on the doors, everybody said, well, once the iRacing designers figure it out, the real-life teams can follow suit, because there are so many great creatives here on the service. Of course, you'll see many of these teams representing sim-specific sponsorships, many of them as well representing real-life sponsorships to their Cup Series teams. Good look at a field of race cars as they rip and roar around at about 190 miles an hour. That time off it into turn 3. There's the onboard perspective with Wyatt Tinsley, the driver at Hampton, Virginia. You look on board with him and take a peek into his sim rig in the bottom right.
That you can. And one thing of note, Joey Brown started from the pits, and we talked about some of the smoke we saw earlier on lap 2. That was him exiting the pit. So Joey Brown 2 laps down right now, running in 38th. We'll see if he has time to get back up to the front, as now we take a look behind Jordy Lopez Jr. And how about Michael Conti, already up to potentially second from the 8th starting spot here on lap 9.
Michael Conti has been on the move, the longtime veteran, making his final eNASCAR start in Vegas tonight. And as they go 3 wide for second, the caution will come out behind them. Couple of cars up and into the outside wall, and wrong way around is Garrett Lowe. Not what that Jim Beaver Esports 15 wanted to be looking like on lap number 9, and somehow Zach Novak was also involved in that accident. We'll have to rewind the tape, Blake, take a second peek to see what happens, but we were just talking about Novak. He was in a top 10 spot. All of a sudden, then you blink and he's in the first yellow of the night.
Well, that was for about 12th, and I think I saw it out of the corner of my eye. 4 wide here on the front straightaway on lap 9. Typically doesn't work, to say the least. So I think that was the issue there. As Timmy Holmes, Caden Honeycutt, some of the RFK entries were just on the apron of this one. As they came back up onto the racetrack, we'll see it one more time as we'll take a look at it. Watch the 15 here in the middle, and the number 4, Ryan Luza. You could see Lowe trying to give a push to Zelensky. I just don't think he knows that there's 2 cars above him, because you typically wouldn't see that this early on, but he comes up the racetrack. Luza goes down a little bit, and you can see Novak and Garrett Lowe get the worst end of it. We'll take one more look. This is Dylan Duval's vantage point of this accident.
Yeah, just squeezes in there, and we were comparing this to Atlanta. I don't know if you can get them 4 wide at Atlanta, but they did on the front stretch here, using that apron to the advantage of the 17, and then when he comes up, Zelensky's got to go up, and everything just kind of squishes up to the outside wall, and they just ran out of racetrack there. And unfortunately, it is both Novak and Lowe into the outside wall for the first yellow flag of the afternoon. A couple of cars will trickle down to pit road. Lowe, Novak, and Ray down pit road for service. This yellow could give an opportunity, I believe, for Joey Brown, as there he is right there, right on cue. He'll get a lucky dog to get waved around. So he'll go from 2 laps down to 1. Not a ton of damage, admittedly, though, in the 2 cars that were in the fence.
No, not considering what it could have been. And yeah, that was definitely a caution that Joey Brown, very happy to see that puts him back 1 lap down. And assuming these drivers can get back out, stay on the lead lap, he gets one more quick caution, he's back in this thing.
But we had the chance earlier during Countdown to Green to catch up with the eRacer co-owners Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle. Let's get their take on their driver decision that was actually based on confusing the broadcast team with both a call-in and a call-in.
It's part of it. I mean, really, we take everything into account, and challenging the broadcast team is definitely a factor. Obviously, Colin Bowden returning with us this year was important, because we love his style, we love his personality. We believe he's a talented race car driver that we're happy that he's in the series. So he's a perfect fit for eRacer. Driving our number 69 car, which is just a super nice setup for him and for this whole organization. So Colin Keister, happy to have him too. I mean, obviously, he's got an incredible pedigree and accomplishments on the entire iRacing platform. So his resume speaks for itself, which was really why we went after him for that opportunity. So sometimes I think internally we call ourselves the meme team. We want to be, we want to show that this community is fun, that our social content is fun and entertaining, but we're also still serious racers. I mean, the organization is owned by serious racers. That's what we do for a living. So we want to see these guys win. Seeing them both in the top 5 at Talladega was incredible. Seeing them lead laps, it is incredible.
And we can't discount Colin Bowden's hair. We had to keep the hair around in the meme team, in the 69 car. Colin Keister brings the winning pedigree, as Landon pointed out, and having won at the eNASCAR level before. So we think it's a good mix. And for the broadcasters, we're sorry, but that's all the more memes that we can make. So it's just greater content for us.
I think it's actually easier, Blake, to know that they've got Colin with a C and Colin with a K, because you just think of Colin, it's the meme team.
Absolutely, and no apologies necessary. We love to have both Collins in this series and mixing it up at the front of the field like we've seen them do time and time again.
And they're both going to be mixing it up as the lights go out on top of the pace car, because they're in the midfield. Colin with a K, that being Keister's, about 26th, and Colin with a C, that being Bowden, but 34th position. So they're going to have plenty of traffic to be dealing with as we get set to restart this race. Of course, if you want the latest news and updates from around the world of eNASCAR, then sign up today by scanning the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and you can stay up to date with all things eNASCAR as Well, we may already be past the halfway point in the regular season at the end of tonight, but playoffs, college, all kinds of action around the sim world, so make sure you stay up to date with us and don't miss a thing. Up front, of course, after the first lap pass, it was old Jordi Lopez Jr. He's the only driver to have led a lap tonight, leading all 12. Michael Conti is in second. He'll go to the outside of the front row. Nick Ottinger up to third, and your pole sitter Keegan Leahy finds himself outside of row number 2, scored in fourth. So we'll see, is Lopez a bit of a sitting duck like Leahy was on the first to go around? Or can the 3 Coca-Cola Chevrolet shake off the challengers? Pace car down and in. Still 88 laps to go in Las Vegas. They head to the restart zone. Green flag back in the air. And it is a beautiful jump for the 3 car, but is it too much of a jump? He is a mile ahead of the battle for second as they race through turn 2. They're going to get a huge run down the back straightaway on the 3 car.
Well, you can see Michael Conti trying to pull down and side draft just a little bit as he's got a great push from Keegan Leahy going on in the middle lane. They kind of sort it out. Ottinger may be clear here for second. And how about Parker White has worked his way into the fold up here into the top 10. Same with Dylan Alt. He's been shaking it up here, started up in the 3rd position. So a couple of new faces that we haven't necessarily seen up at the front this year, trying to make their presence felt here in 2023.
Oh, there's smoke, some trouble towards the back of the pack. It looks like they all straightened it out as they came off at turn number 2. Cars were scattering high, scattering low. No yellow, though. We stay green. And the battle up front races on as it's the 8 car of Conti staying ahead of the 25 of Ottinger, who has to settle for 3rd. Battle's going to be 4th on the back. It's Leahy to the outside of the 51 car as Strauss challenging down low. And Derek Justice trying to make some headway. He tries to pick his way through the field. The 31 car just getting passed up right there by Casey Kerwin, who's plus 12 spots tonight.
That was Corey Vincent who made that save in the back of the field. A little bit of tire smoke, but we stay under the green flag. You saw Kerwin up there working that 3rd lane, and I think this is why you see a lot of drivers who maybe want to try to move up to the top. You can see Justice do it right here as he tries to work that middle lane, though very difficult to run right on that seam. A good way to upset the car. Almost contact there with Caden Honeycutt off of turn 2. It's Justice trying to fill that spot on the outside.
You can see cars all the way up against the fence, all the way down on the bottom. You get a little bit nervous when they look to go 3 wide. That's what caused the opening incident in this race. But Kerwin, Honeycutt, and Co. managed to at least get it back down to 2x2 as they see that 20 car with a bit of a shimmy. Wyatt Tinsley slides up the hill, and he's going to be forced 3 wide now as it's the 31 of Justice to the middle of the racetrack. Kerwin backs out. We're back to 2x2, but for how long? Tinsley's going to stick it up on the outside. He's following in the chemtrails. That's Mike Conti up there on the wall as well. So they're trying to rip the high side, use that progressive banking to sling down off of turn 4. And for Conti, at least, no dice there because the 23 Leahy stays in front of him.
He took that run and gave Keegan Leahy a great push. You know, one thing I was kind of surprised to see is Ryan Luza. He's still running in 11th. We talked about him being in that opening crash with Garrett Lowe and Zach Novak, but it doesn't seem to have hurt his car too much. So Ryan Luza, kind of a beneficiary right there. Hasn't had a lot of luck this year, but all things considered, nice to see him running up here in 11th as you see Conti and Leahy once again try to form up a little bit of a run to try and chase down series rookie who's leading this field in Jordi Lopez Jr.
Hey, Blake, was it you with the hot take about we're not going to see a rookie in the championship 4? Because, listen, there's a long way to go tonight, but Jordy's looking pretty stout up front, and he's looking to be the first of those rookies to punch a ticket.
Well, he has, and, you know, I got to say for Jordy, he's been very, very strong in his debut in this series. You can see a couple of deep breaths as he's heading down into turn 1. Team Dillon as a whole has been very, very strong this year. We talk about Tucker Minter winning that opening race at Daytona as a rookie, and Jordi Lopez has just been clicking off consistent finishes and obviously finds himself in the best seat in the house right now up at the front of the field.
Meanwhile, the midfield is not backing down at all. This is the battle for about 15th position, but realistically, it's the battle for 10th through 20th. I mean, this mid-pack you've got about 13 cars per second of racing interval, and they're just not letting up. I mean, we talk about the crazy racing. It certainly feels like Atlanta when you look at this right here.
Yes, it does. It kind of is reminiscent of everybody trying to get up high. You can see Alan Bowes trying to shut the door on Derek Justice right there. Justice going to go all the way up to the wall, get a little bit of clean air, but isn't quite able to clear off of turn 4. And that's the one thing with that outside lane is that if you can get clear, you get this massive run down the front stretch. But as we've seen, even with Michael Conti up front, if you can't quite get clear, you're really just going to be pushing that car in front of you with all that momentum down the straightaway. As Jordy Lopez Jr. had a couple of tenths of a second of a lead over Michael Conti. Conti has erased that gap and may try to challenge for the lead here off of turn 4 as he gets to the outside almost as Conti nearly scrapes the fence.
Got to the outside, slices back down to the inside, and they will go side by side for the race lead in Vegas. And at lap 24, new race leader, the WR1 Sim Chassis Chevy of Michael Conti to the top of the board. Lopez closes into the bumper, but will not counter. And the 8 car going to get a taste of some of the clean air as we approach the quarter distance mark.
And my goodness, does he put it to good use. You could see how much that car is handling in the center of the corner. Just has so much drive through the center right now. Lopez and Ottinger are going to be able to make that up with that draft, but I think that's very scary that Conti is able to pull away that much in the corner. That does not bode well for the rest of this field or my picks.
Conti won this race last season when it was round number 2 of the year. So Conti looking to back it up with another one here. There's a look at Dylan Alden, the Coke Zeros Chevrolet. The number 40 car rides at 4th. Let's jump on board. It's your Coca-Cola onboard camera. Doing his best to hold it steady. There's a lot of Coca-Cola red inside of the top 4, with Lopez now sitting 3rd, having been passed by Nick Ottinger, who moves to P2. And now Alt will find himself in 5th because the driver on the move right now, the 77 of Ryan Doucette, starting to make some moves. He climbs up to P4.
Good to see this modified driver doing very well, making up a couple of positions. He goes to the middle behind Jordy Lopez Jr. And, you know, we saw a great shot there with Dylan Alt, and you heard him get out of the gas a little bit when he pulled right up alongside Jordy Lopez Jr. One of the great things about iRacing is the aerodynamic effects that you have with these cars. Of course, clean air going to be very helpful, but also in the corner when you have someone bearing down on your door, it's going to take that side force off the car. It's going to cause you to get tight, and we heard that with Dylan Alt, and you see the end result. He has to lift just a little bit in that side-by-side battle with Jordy Lopez Jr., and he is free-falling right now, almost outside of the top 10 in just a couple of laps. So I think it's great to see those aero effects play into things as well. As you can see Ryan Luza almost making his way by as well. It has not been a good couple of laps for Dylan Alt.
He's trying to get back towards the front, and I thought I was seeing double there for a minute because the green with the red roof number on the 46 car made me think that was the 18 Bobby Zelensky, but it's the 46 Amolis with that Vegas-inspired Sunoco paint scheme tonight. So a bit of maybe a chameleon for the 46 because he can blend in and look like Bobby. Bobby, I think, wishes he was the 46 right now because he can't go anywhere. Road's blocked. They are 3 wide in front of him. There's Alt continuing to slide back to 51. Strauss gonna get squeezed. Luza will force him to the outside.
Yet another example right there of Strauss being right on Luza's door, and that takes all the side force off of that car. He gets tight, he has to lift, and yet he keeps drifting up the track as Honeycutt, I believe, is spun in turn 1, and a huge crash back here.
Wyatt Tinsley, Colin Bowden, Dylan Duvall, and several others pile in as Honeycutt went, I believe, no, that was Alan Bowes, rather, for a four-wheel drift into one, contact with Casey Kerwin, and the caution is out.
And that one came out of almost nothing. The action was in front of the eventual contact, but you're right, Alan Bowes, Casey Kerwin were a little bit staggered. They weren't nose to tail, and Casey took a shot from Dylan Duvall behind, and it moved him up just enough to tag the 34 of Alan Bowes. He went sideways, and then it was really on from there. We'll have to wait for the replay to tell everybody else that was involved. Bowes was able to eventually drive through despite being at the start of it, but that was certainly a bigger one, a lap number 31, and now curious how this is going to affect the pit strategy in the race, because the third member of our broadcast team down trackside, James Pike, was letting us know, Blake, some of the radio chatters suggest the drivers might have been safe at a field to get to the halfway point. Make your stop then. This could change things as we take a second look.
My goodness, Duvall got in the corner and just kind of punted Kerwin into him. Kerwin moved up in the lane, had to check up a little bit, but Duvall just got into the corner, basically didn't lift, gets into the back of Kerwin. Fortunately, Alan Bowes, we know they're good friends, all three of them. They work together occasionally in this series. This is from Timmy Holmes, and my goodness, what a great job of avoidance there. The RFK bunch, they've been involved in several of these, but yet they're unscathed.
Second yellow of the night underway. A couple of different cars mixing it up front. Still a long way to go from Las Vegas. But as they run now, Jordy Lopez, most laps led of the night at 23. Conti, though, in control.
There's your biggie bag. All that food for $5, that's my go-to.
Ooh, that's my ride or die.
Just like you and me. Bag boys. Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
You can always bet on Biggie. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag.
May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. NASCAR is committed to empowering the AAPI community in the industry and beyond. From Hideo Fukuyama, the first Asian driver to compete in a NASCAR National Series race, to Kyle Larson, the first Asian American to win a NASCAR Cup Series championship. Milestones like these continue to drive our sports future, and we are proud to celebrate them all year long.
Back live at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. By Wendy's. Wendy's Biggie Bag comes with your choice of JBC double stack or crispy chicken sandwich, plus 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink. So stop by today and bet on Biggie. And by NASCAR. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and eNASCAR is proud to recognize the accomplishments of past and present icons within the sport. The contributions of many to the sport should be celebrated as they help fuel NASCAR's past, present, and future. Well, it was exactly wholesale service for most of the cars that time down to the pit lane. Jordy Lopez Jr. jumps back out in front of the cars who did come down pit road, Blake, but that's not all of them. Look at the 7. Malik Ray staying out. There's always one of them. He is going to be on 24-lap old tires, so that means he pitted on the first yellow of the race, but that's still going to be quite a disadvantage.
Yeah, I hate this call. There's no other way to put it. I mean, we're within the fuel window here, and I know he's going to get track position. He's going to be on
very old tires, going to be very slow, and yet the rest of the field might be able to make it on fuel to the end. And I really wanted to test this out, so during our commercial break, I loaded up the sim. I became a ghost driver in the session just to make sure my fuel numbers are accurate, and what it's telling me is about 60 laps of fuel. Again, that's without draft because these guys were pacing around as I was driving through them, but with that draft, we're probably looking at 62, 63 laps, so very doable for these drivers to try and make it to the end. Sometimes being an iRacing broadcaster has its benefits.
Yeah, there you go. And this time by going to be 65 laps to go. So if you go green, this is going to be a very interesting strategy play for everybody but Malik Ray. He'll go to the inside of the front row. We'll jump on board the perspective of Keegan Leahy. It's the Logitech onboard camera. Green flag back in the air. Quick yellow behind the race leaders. Nothing happening up front towards the midfield, so it's got to be way in the back. And I think there it is, the 69 of Colin Bowden. Is he the only driver involved? Not a ton of damage on that car, but he was spun off of turn number 2, and it's a quickie yellow off of the restart.
That it is, and I think it's interesting. You heard as soon as the yellow came out, these drivers were shutting their motors off, trying to save as much fuel as possible. And I think, once again, it was in the back of the field. It was Dylan Duvall who I think made contact with Colin Bowden, and I think it was because some drivers were trying to save some fuel. I think it was Matt Booser, one of the Logitech cars. Yes, it was Booser, just did not get going through 1 and 2. A little bit of a checkup happened, and unfortunately not able to react in time. So these drivers, I think, having their eyes on making it to the end on fuel, ended up causing this latest incident.
The yellow's certainly going to help them. Let's take a look. I mean, this is at the very back. 69 car, 41 car in line. Of course, the 41 involved in the most recent incident. Oh, they're stacking way up the road. 97, 45 on the binders, and Bowden braked. Car behind him did not. He got spun around. Not the position that Bowden wanted to be in. Blake, let's see if we can get a word with him.
Let's see if we can. Colin Bowden, we're pulling you up here into the broadcast booth. What happened from your vantage point there?
They all checked up right there, and we just got run over. So, I mean, that's not a bad caution for me because I can fix the rest of the damage from this first crash. I mean, we were flying that first run. These fools had nothing for us. We were the best car on the racetrack. And now the car is tore all to hell, like usual. Good Coca-Cola, though. We'll sit here, fix this car, and hopefully they keep crashing and we can come back to the front for the e-racer machine here. And, yeah, that's it. Don't forget about the Firecracker. Firecracker 400. We're having that up here in a couple of months. Can't forget about that.
No, certainly not. I see you got the hockey in the background this time. Big hockey guy.
Oh, yeah. How about them Canes, man? We rode them in the first round.
Yes,
I think
like
Florida Panthers might win this thing here. I'm going for a futures bet on them. So,
well,
hopefully we
hope
have something happen there.
Well, you know, I was with you for a little bit, but I hope that bet doesn't pay out. But nevertheless, Colin, we hope that you find some more luck in this race at least.
I appreciate it, guys.
It makes you feel better, Blake. You guys will both be wrong because obviously Vegas is going to finally wrap this one up. Every other year, it's a division champ. I'll be at the game tomorrow night here in town, so respectfully, you'll both be wrong. But I love anybody who's taking in the hockey playoffs. There's very few things better in sports than that. It's a good time of the year, right? It's the middle of the summer, basketball, hockey playoffs, NASCAR season in full swing. I don't know what more you could ask for.
No, certainly not. We'll see if, though, we could catch up here with Michael Conti running in the second position, the first car that's on fresh tires. You made your way up to the front pretty quickly here, but what's kind of your thoughts here? We're about halfway through this one.
Yes, Blake, this is kind of like it was last year. We're back to really tight pack racing, hard to get away from people. So I think we've got a good number 8 WR1 Chevrolet, lots of speed. Fuel's definitely a concern for everybody up here right now, so I think that's why you see a lot of hard saving under caution here, but we'll see what happens. I mean, it's crazy. It's unpredictable. It's essentially a super speedway, so got a long way to go, but we'll see what happens.
How are you able to balance that when you talk about it's hard to get away if you're trying to save your tires, save that car to where it's good later in the run? Do you think there's a benefit to that, or is it all about track position?
Yeah, I certainly do think there's a benefit to saving, but it's a very fine line, especially since the last update. You know, the amount you have to save early on is definitely not like it was pre-update. So you're going to see people much more dynamically pushing and then saving and pushing and saving. It's going to be much more fluid. So it should make for some good racing if we can get going here. But I am the worst tire saver in the world. I just want to get out front, want the clean air, want to control this thing. So that is going to be the plan off the restart.
Great insight from Michael Conti. We'll let you get back behind the wheel, restarting second. Good luck, buddy.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Referenced it earlier, knows how to get around Vegas with this configuration. The 2020 eNASCAR winner here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. One of his many career wins throughout his career. A 14-time race winner. Announced earlier this year that 2023 would be it for him. Fourth on the all-time wins list, and of course a past champion from back in 2014. So would love to find some of that success again here in 23. Lights out on top of the pace car. Malik Ray survived that first sprint, Blake. Everybody else didn't really get a chance to chase him down. Some discussions on the radio with the 7 team about maybe just yielding to the low side. And, you know, when Conti, Ottinger, and Lopez kind of crank on the afterburners and keep it in the spirit of the Thunderbirds being in Vegas here, rocket by him on the outside, he just gets out of the way because, again, he is on those 29 lap old tires. Everybody else, 7 laps old, and majority of those laps have been under the yellow. So Malik Ray chooses the bottom. Pace car heads down and in. It'll be Conti to his outside. 40 laps down, 60 laps to go. Green flag back in the air.
Now, the one thing this strategy does for Malik Ray is it allows him to save a set of tires if we have 10, 15, 20 lap runs, but he's going to need a number of cautions and have them spread out in about 10 or 15 lap intervals to have an extra set at the end of this race to maybe go 5 or 10 laps.
There's a unique look on the left-hand side of your screen on what manufacturers run where. A lot of Chevys, 7 of them inside of the top 9, but it's a blue oval. The 4 Gray leading the way. 3 wide midfield as Doucette's going to get squeezed up, and in front of them on the outside, he might not make it. Oh, it's a big crash. The 18's into the outside wall, and the 77 of Doucette goes with them.
Bobby Zielinski. I believe that was Zielinski. It wasn't Falkingham. Yes, it was. Bobby Zielinski, a hard impact the outside wall. Again, they were just icing it off of 3 and 4. Somebody got really tight and nearly hit the wall off of 4. I think that was Michael Cozy Jr. He didn't hit the wall, but everybody kind of scattered to avoid him. Contact he made with Timmy Holmes, and I think everybody just trying to find a lane to continue their run. And Zielinski and I think Garrett Maines made contact just about at where the banking meets the apron here on the front straightaway.
We've seen use the banking on the front stretch there to put us 4 wides at time. Let's see if this is where the issue comes from. 3 wide as they come off of turn number 4. 4 car goes up in front of the 11. A bit of a touch there, and as Zielinski comes down, gets nicked, comes up, claps the 77 car into the outside wall, and just a tough incident there. And then another second hit there in the grass as well to take another car out of it. Let's go on board with Casey Kerwin and see his perspective. Oh, that could have been a lot worse as Kerwin somehow makes it through.
Well, you'd rather be lucky than fast a lot of times, and fortunately there for Kerwin, didn't have to check up. Malik Ray going to come down and pit here on lap 43. So we'll relinquish his spot at the front of the field. It will give him fresher tires, but how much it's going to help, that's another question, and not a lot of green flag laps on the rest of the field here with these tires.
Certainly, if you compare the stat sheet from Vegas and Talladega, they're not alike, but the racing so far tonight looks a lot like, Blake, what you saw 2 weeks ago at the Talladega Super Speedway, and another wild one that came down to a super exciting finish, but plenty of dicing along the way.
It certainly was. 2 weeks ago was a great race, a lot of action and a lot of green flag racing. And again, the best sim racers in the world really got to showcase their skills with this next gen package on iRacing. It's so fun. There's a lot of dynamic moves you can make. You can see a pig wreck here in a turn 3. And then Zach Novak, of course, a great paint scheme. That throwback to Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s last win here at this racetrack. They've been killing it on their throwback schemes all season long. Couple of incidents, but yet at the end of it all, we still have a very, very familiar name up front. You think about Talladega, and it's an opportunity race for a lot of different drivers to try and get to victory lane. And yet at the end of it all, we pretty much had the exact same players at the front of the field that we had in the playoffs last year at Talladega. Casey Kerwin, Colin Bowden, Bobby Zielinski, a number of drivers who had a shot at the end of this thing. And of course, heartbreak for the driver we were just talking about coming down to pit this caution, and Malik Ray looking for his first eNASCAR win. He thought he had this one. If you go back and look at his stream, he was so excited, and yet Kerwin, just in the nick of time, gets him to go to victory lane once again and try to defend his title.
There have been so many of those close calls for Malik Ray, but it was the defending champ Casey Kerwin who have found victory lane. And speaking of finding folks, Blake, you have got Jordy dialed up on the radio.
Very happy driver here behind the Coca-Cola Chevrolet. Jordy Lopez, you've been very strong here tonight. I know we've been slowed down by a couple of cautions, but how do you try to approach the second half of the race being up front?
I'm just trying to keep track position. Track position seems kind of whatchamacallit. I just heard somebody in my ear, and like it just threw me off. But I'm just trying to keep track position and just trying to get like good points, because the Condi cars are just way too fast for me right now, and I can't do anything. Maybe long run, but in short run they're just like too fast for us, and can't really do much. I try to hold the lead for as long as I can, but it's just too hard.
Can't relate. We get that in the broadcast booth all the time, Jordy. But nevertheless, best of luck to you here the second half, trying to bring it home for the rookies and be the second Team Dillon driver to win here in 2023. Jordy Lopez Jr. Car number 3 runs in third right now, Evan.
Is in a good spot to do so. You referenced the fact that his teammate Tucker Minter got the race win earlier this year at the Daytona International Speedway on February 14th. He's in a good spot, but feels like he's maybe a step or two behind of where he would like to be right now. But inside P3, a good spot to be. Of course, Malik Ray went to the pit lane this time out of the yellow flag. He wasn't the only one in for service. Dylan Duvall, Michael Guest, Colin Bowden, Ryan Doucette also in. That's towards the rear of the field. Your top 23 cars all on the same strategy as each other, having pitted about 13 laps ago. Blake, we're saving fuel as we pace, but if we keep having, 10 laps on and a yellow here and there, I would suspect that even if you're saving fuel along the way, drivers would come down for tires just given the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing you'd have to worry about if you're some of these drivers staying out is potential overtime. Would you want to stay out? Could you make it on fuel if we kind of go past the 100-lap scheduled distance, which happens a number of times? But of course, you want to find out more about everything going on in the eNASCAR world, as well as schedule standings and much more. You can go to iRacing.com/eNASCAR. And of course, you can try to start your driving career today at iRacing.com. You could sign up now and get behind the wheel of the next-gen car here in Las Vegas, or whatever suits your fancy.
It's a lot of fun to be had across all types of racing disciplines, but man, is this a fun combo to watch here tonight. Green flag back in the air, 4 laps shy of halfway in the Las Vegas 100. Conti gets a really good jump. The 8 car is going to lead to 1, and side by side for second, it's Lopez on the inside of Ottinger.
Another name up here, give a nod to Donovan Strauss, somebody else who definitely wishes he had more luck here early on in 2023, but definitely a driver that is capable of going up front and winning this race. And we talk about opportunity races at tracks like Atlanta, tracks like Talladega. I would say Vegas is kind of in that same realm here. If you're Strauss, you have good track position. We know that draft is very, very important. But I like hearing what we heard from Lopez is you got to find friends, and he doesn't find one there as Strauss takes advantage of Lopez getting tight. He goes 3 wide, but yet he'll lose some positions into turn 3.
And Mullis looked like he was going to be able to break free of that 3 wide, but unable to do so. He's flanked by Strauss on the bottom and Lopez on the outside. The Foraluza seems committed to following the 46 wherever he goes, so they are 3 by 3 as they race off to turns 1 and 2. And Jimmy Mullis clear low. Is he clear high? Not yet. The 3 car gonna stick it in there. There's a good look off of the back of the 46 and on board. Jimmy looking pretty calm, I'd say, all things considered, but certainly locked in as he's leaning. He's willing that car to rotate through the corner.
I tell you what, Ryan Luz was just squeezed there in the middle of 3 wide, and a great job by him to not mess up. He is just running mere inches off of Strauss, as well as Keegan Leahy. Timmy Holmes almost had a moment a little bit earlier as well. And even Alan Bowes had his spin a little bit earlier, was kind of involved in that earlier incident. He's just on the outskirts of the top 10. And how about Michael Cozy Jr., biggest mover in this race so far, 25th to 11th.
And some news on the strategy game as we are now 50-50 halfway home from Vegas. Malik Ray, who just pitted on the most recent yellow flag, has the best tires out of anybody on the racetrack and can go the distance on fuel, Blake. But we're also hearing other names. Nick Ottinger, P2, his team is saying that they've saved enough fuel under the last couple of yellows that they are not only good to go the distance on fuel, but they're good to go the distance +1 green-white checker. So if this race stays green, looks like most of the drivers in the field will be able to go to that scheduled lap number 100 marker.
They'd be able to do it, but would they have the tires to hang on? I think that's the other question that's in the back of these drivers' minds. If we get a very late race restart, do you risk staying up front and keeping the track position, or would you want to stay out there on old tires? I think Malik Ray is going to be a very interesting car to watch here moving forward these next couple of laps, and how he utilizes some fresh tires. Is Kerwin. What a save in the middle of turn 4, but isn't quite able to make it work. Bowden goes sliding through the infield grass. No yellow, we are still green, but Kerwin did a whale of a job to not spin that race car.
Had to save it once and then had to save it twice. He had that huge bobble, then more cars collected through the grass, and somehow we aren't done yet. Still green and still going at it. 13 cars within 1 second of each other. Look at this battle at the front of the field.
This is further up from where that incident happened. Dylan Alt still trying to make that inside lane work as he goes down into 1 and 2. There's still 3 wide behind him between Maines, White, and Timmy Holmes. Got to give a nod to Timmy Holmes as well. Been very, very strong, hanging out in that King's Hawaiian Ford, trying to make a move. You'll see it one more time. Casey Kerwin side by side with Michael Cozy Jr., and I believe gets tagged from behind. That may have been Zach Novak.
You can see the push there of the drivers who are able to escape in that group on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Is up top and now back full screen. The battle inside of the top 10 continues on, all behind Michael Conti, who has now led tied, I should say, Jordi Lopez Jr. for the most laps led tonight at 23 apiece. Here's another perspective. The replays in the bottom right corner. You can see the first touch there. There's the first save. And then when they run out of real estate, there's where he's got to save it again, as both he and Bowden go all the way through the grass. No yellow. And then he's got to blend back up without hitting anybody else.
Yeah, Novak tagged the apron, got his car loose. He chased it up into Casey Kerwin. And again, that's why these drivers are the best in the world, that they can have a situation go that awry and save it. We'll see if Luza can do the same thing. Entering on the apron. And we're still green. What a job of driving here in turns 3 and 4 by a pair of the X-Set cars. We stay green with 45 laps to go.
Well, the 51 car of Donovan Strauss not happy with the 23. He says Leahy hit him in the door. That's what caused the 51 to come down, spit the 4 car onto the apron. It's a good save by the 4, but all that Ryan Luza can do is let out a sigh over the radio chatter because he drops down to 20th after being inside of a top 10 spot. What that near wreck has done, I should say, is it has kind of broken things up a little bit. The top 10 for the first time since we went back green, a little bit of space between them. You can see Parker White going to tuck in behind Alan Bowes. In front of him, you got a Train, Ottinger, Mullis, Strauss, Olds, all nose to tail, but it's no longer the 3-4 wide like it was a few laps ago. We'll see if this separation will continue or if they'll all just draft back up into one big pack again.
It's seeming like what Conti was saying earlier, that it's hard to pull away, is true, and I think that's what you're going to see the next couple of laps. This is what we saw, though, going into turn 3. Luza is on the worst end of it, gets shot down to the apron, and everybody else, those spotters up on the spotter stand, which nearly all of these drivers have some form of help up there on the roof, did a great job to get their driver down to the bottom. And Malik Ray, through some help with some of the incidents that we've seen, has made his way up into 16th. Now remember, he has fresher tires than the rest of the field by about 10 laps. That wasn't necessarily green flag laps, and I would imagine by the time he'd get back to the front, it would have somewhat evened out. But that gap to the leader has stayed at about 2.1, 2.2 seconds for Malik Ray. So not a terrible call here with the fresh tires. It's certainly helping him as he makes his way by Caden Honeycutt. But I think by the time he would get to the front, that advantage may be gone for him. But he's going to try to make another spot up here on Michael Cozy Jr.
He's been doing everything he can to pick through the field. Up to 14th and now 13th spot as he gets the nose in front of the 38 car Cozy. You're looking off of the back of Tucker Minter. Minter next up. Almost looked like he was sleeping there, but that's just another lean. Lean into the left. Trying to, again, will that car to rotate through the corner as he looks back on the approaching number 7 of Malik Ray, who, again, one of the fastest cars on track right now. But how long will that tire advantage last? When we restarted this race, he had 10-lap newer tires than everybody in front of him. But, of course, as everybody else's tires are wearing, he's losing some, and eventually that bite's going to drift and drift away. He's P13 right now, 2 seconds off of the race leader, who continues to be Michael Conti.
And I think that advantage is somewhat stabilized. To talk about that advantage, kind of sitting right there at 2 seconds as everybody else has kind of gone single file here. They have not let Conti get away, though, and Ottinger and Mullis, you think about if you're the leader and you can't really get away, it may be better somewhat to get a little bit of clean air, save your tires here in the draft, allow the draft to kind of pull you forward. As you would see the live standings as they sit right now, of course, Conti has a win. If either the drivers behind him and Ottinger or Mullis would take a victory here tonight, especially with Mullis being outside the top 15, would certainly shake up that bubble quite drastically. You can see Ottinger has a huge lead in terms of the points, but I talked about it a lot in the pre-race show. I think it's going to take a win with how competitive this series is to try to make the playoffs.
And you notice 4 drivers in the win column there: Minter, Conti, Zelensky, Kerwin. Who did you not see? Well, our Atlanta race winner. That's Steven Wilson. He's 20th on the racetrack right now, but in the live standings, if this race were to end at this moment, P20 in the race would mean that he would drop outside of the top 20 in the season standings. And of course, you need to be top 20 for that race win to count towards automatic qualification. So a bit of work to do for the Smithfield Ford Mustang tonight. Race winner already at Atlanta this year, but goes to show you, Blake, just because you locked up a checkered flag on the year doesn't mean you can put your feet up and go on vacation for the rest of the season. It's tough to be top 20 in this series with or without a win. Of course, that is one of the most aggressive battles in the points we talk about, because that's also the relegation line.
That it is. And we've seen it before. Ray Alfala is a great example of a winner who was not able to retain his spot in the top 20. And unfortunately, you could see it didn't work out for him, not in the series this year as he's trying to make his way back up. But 35 laps to go. Michael Conti, Nick Ottinger, Jimmy Mullis, your top 3. Strauss and, again, Dylan Alt been very strong here running up in the top 5.
A lot going right so far for Michael Conti, already a race winner early this year from Milwaukee. He's looking for his 2nd straight eNASCAR win at Las Vegas. He is cruising. 35 laps led, but there are still 34 to go. And Malik Ray coming on fresh tires.
I need to try it first.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Makoni.
We now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at McConeySetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at McConey Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Remember how lucky we are to get to do this every week?
We remember the racing,
Allison, look for another way around.
the action,
I'm speechless. This is the greatest day of my life.
the calls,
He did it! 3 in a row, Jimmy Johnson!
the community. But when we look back, we also need to remember the men and women who serve this country and all they do to keep us safe and free.
Back live in the entertainment capital of the world, where coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And by Makoni Setup Shop. Makoni Setup Shop is the original iRacing setup shop and is trusted by real-world professionals and virtual pros to get the job done. You can visit McConeySetupShop.com to see why they are the official setup shop of eNASCAR and choose a subscription to save money. Makoni Setup Shop, our setups, your victories. And we are potentially 28 laps away from another Michael Conti victory, but enter another challenger. Dylan Alt wants to change that. Blake has been using the outside in 1 and 2 and has found some long run speed. Now with 28 laps to go, keep an eye on that 40 Chevy.
That he has, and you can see that he's maintained this gap without a ton of help. In terms of drafting, we talk about these next-gen cars, it helps a lot to have somebody behind you, and yet Timmy Holmes is about half a second back. So I think Alt's car is really strong. If he can just make up a little bit of ground here these next couple of laps, I think he'll roll right on up to the leaders and be challenging with Conti, Ottinger, and Jimmy Mullis for this win.
There's a good look at Garrett Lowe trying to get underneath the 11 car as they fight on track. Parker White in 15th, trying to get that snatched away, but the 15 car doing a good job of sliding through on the bottom. You got the 4 of Luza in the mix as well as you go on board with the driver out of Gastonia, North Carolina. A lot of wheel input as it kind of shimmy shakes that 15 car up to the outside of the racetrack, and middle of the road, Alan Bose going to slide in, shut the door. Lowe doesn't care. He'll cross back over to the bottom. Bose was 12th last time at the start-finish line. He'll be 15th. He's losing ground late.
Well, and he was running in about 6th or 7th, so I think Bose right now, you could just see car is really loose, and unfortunately handling is going away on him. Not going away from Michael Conti or Nick Ottinger, though, up here at the front of the field. These three have pretty much kept their distance between each other going for the last 20 some odd laps, and staying single file has helped them kind of maintain this lead a little bit. If we had seen them side by side drafting each other, slowing each other down, I think they would have fallen back into the pack. And with some of the incidents that we've seen that have not drawn a yellow, it's kind of why we're spread out a little bit at the moment.
And how about mains? I mean, we go through the field and you talk about some of these different drivers. The 12 car up in P6 right now. Blake started in 34th. He is up 29 spots tonight. By far and large right now, the biggest mover.
It's not often you see this in this series. Drivers talk about how competitive it is, how close everybody is. in terms of having their track position and getting it. It's very hard to kind of flip a race where you start in the back and you still manage even a top 20 out of it. But the fact that Maines is up here in 6th and is continuing to march, I mean, what an impressive drive strategy-wise. And again, he's not doing this on fresher tires. He's just that much quicker than the cars he's around.
I haven't talked a ton about Timmy Holmes tonight, but he is at a real consistent one. Started 17th, is P7 right now. In fact, he is the highest running of the rookie crop in the field right now and leads a group of 3 rookies. Timmy's in P7, Jordy Lopez in 8th, and Tucker Minter in 9th. So a lot of rookies inside of the top 10 looking to make it to the playoffs and play spoiler in their first full campaign in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Pretty good run underway to this point. Again, we talked about the varying strategies. Everybody should be good to go to the end. The fresh tires for Malik Ray stalled out. He's stuck in 13th. You're kind of looking at all the drivers on the same strategy to see where that challenge is going to come from. Is it Ottinger, right? Is the 25 parked on the bumper because he just wants to apply the pressure to Conti, keep it consistent, or is he giving it everything he's got? Conti, of course, up front, less ability to save fuel. That could be a minor factor as these drivers are going to look to go some nearly 70 laps from their last pit stop. Of course, yellow's factored into that, aids them in the fuel saving. And, well, then you got Jimmy Mullis there as well. Blake, Jimmy's been in the top 10 all night, but climbs up to P3. First time he's had a real look is those top 3 have checked out. You're missing all of this action back here in the midfield. That 48 car's got a great view. Graham Bolin, the lead of this pack from 17th on back.
A big check up there from Novak, kind of gets Honeycutt out of shape there in the middle of 1 and 2. But I think for Mullis, it's going to be really difficult. We know Conti and Ottinger, they work well together. And I think you could see right there, Conti was trying to get the run off the high side to give Ottinger a little bit of clean air. So if you're Mullis, you're really going to have to be smart about the moves you make to try and separate to, oh my goodness, Keister trying to fit in a hole that nearly wasn't there, and he makes it work. That's just one of those moves where a caution could easily come out. We see a little bit of smoke further on up the road, but that's why eRacer, they pay these drivers with Colin Keister, as they want them to make those aggressive moves.
Drivers can tell now with 20 laps to go. It's got to get, well, the getting's good and make some moves, make those critical passes late because they are running out of opportunities. That's the 42 car across the start-finish line. Sporty looking Wendy's ride tonight for Colin Keister in P18. He's got the 75 of Zach Novak, the throwback paint scheme on that Sunoco Chevy tonight behind him. Parker White right there as well. I haven't talked a ton about him. And then you slide a little bit further on the back. Kevin King, contact there as he and Corey Vincent were leaning on each other in turn 3.
And again, King was one of those drivers that was wrapped up in that incident with Colin Bowden and Casey Kerwin. He barely got the tail end of it. So the fact that he has raced his way back up to the pack, he lost it and is even up here running for 26th. I mean, that's impressive in itself that he chased all these guys back down. You can see Kerwin a little further back on up the road. It's unfortunate for Kevin King, really fast car tonight, but just unfortunate that incident slowed him up quite a bit, and we just have not had a caution for him to try and gain a lot of those spots back.
Well, and I'm not going to say the C word because this group back here is certainly trying. This looks like what the top 10, top 15 looked like at the start of the race. Obviously a little bit more separation, but they're starting to get desperate. They're about 6 total seconds off of the race leaders, trying to make a big swing. They're thinking, how can I get 4 or 5 spots before this race is done instead of 1 or 2? And there's going to be a big check up here as the 17 woes him down. So was that the 2 car of Corey Vincent diced down to the inside as they checked up top. So there is a lot happening right here in the low 20s.
And this could all affect what's going on up front. We saw Ottinger this past lap try the high side to get a run on Conti. I think he's realizing that he may not have the pace to try and chase him down, but yet all this racing back here in the field could certainly affect things and whether we get that caution flag or not. You could see, though, these two up front have kind of been offsetting each other and not giving Mullis any clean air. They've made it pretty difficult on him as Ray makes a diving move on Ryan Luza.
Yeah, you take a look here at the battle for 7th spot, and that's a whole lot of push drafting going on. The 38 of Cozy shoves the 23 of Leahy into the corner. Same on the bottom. It was Luza pushing the 6 of Timmy Holmes. They'll come off of turn 2. And just like a super speedway, right back onto the bumpers. They cleared them before they go back into the corner, and the 23 ducks back down. Meanwhile, in the battle for the race lead up front, Nick Ottinger starting to run out of options. James Pike on pit road reporting that Ottinger says if the 8-car Mike Conti stays in the middle of the road right now, the 25 just can't find a way by. So if that's the objective of Conti, is to just dirty up that air middle of the road and kind of run that defensive line, from the perspective of Nick Ottinger, it's working right now.
Well, it's working for him. And again, we talk about Jimmy Mullis back there. Mullis can't seem to get his car to work up top, so he has to kind of pick whichever lane the Ottinger or Conti's running in, and they're offsetting from each other. So for Mullis, kind of frustrating that he can't get that aerodynamic advantage, get a little bit of clean air. As you can see the battle for the lead up top. You can see the battle for 7th as Michael Cozy Jr. has a huge run potentially here on Keegan Leahy. Again, Cozy having another kind of vintage Michael Cozy Jr. run here. Haven't talked about him a lot tonight. Was running back in about the 15th or 17th position, but Cozy has had a lot of long run speed this year, along with many of our rookies. You talk about Tucker Minter, Jordy Lopez Jr. Cozy has been a part of that elite rookie class that has really been making a statement. When we looked at the playoff standings earlier, they would be a part of it if we continue to see repeat winners. It would certainly shake up a lot as Luza up the racetrack almost into Keegan Leahy.
Yeah, he squeezed up. Leahy trying to protect that outside from the 4. They nearly touched, and Cozy, despite being a rookie to this series this year, Blake has been around sim racing for so many years, one of the most experienced guys out there, and he's had a great season. His worst finish was 23rd last week at Talladega. That's not bad for your first 6 eNASCAR races, and he comes into tonight's race 6th in the championship.
And that's what it's been all about for Cozy, consistency. And talking with him, prior to this season and having raced against him in the Contender Series before, Cozy was somebody that wasn't going to make mistakes, or he's not going to beat himself. And I think that's half the battle here is, oh man, Lowe is up the racetrack. He's tight. Keegan is holding him down. And they're almost hitting off of turn 4. Meanwhile, the battle up front starting to heat up. Ottinger nearly made up some time as well. Under 10 laps to go, and they are still racing for all they're worth here 3 wide for 7th.
10 laps to go from Las Vegas, and through in the middle of the 15 of Lowe, a twitch from the 23, a twitch from the 6 of Holmes. Everybody hanging these cars out on nearly 60 lap old tires. Now it's Bolin trying to get under the 6. Up the road from him, Luza still side by side with Keegan Leahy in a battle for P10, and this is a great fight. Way out for the battle for the race lead, but look at them leaning on each other there as Luza will not let the 23 come down. He's trying to force him higher and higher, almost into the outside wall that time.
I don't know how they could get any closer than what they are right now. And Luza's trying to take that line away from Leahy. Leahy wants to run the middle. Luza wants to run the middle. They make contact once again off the corner. I don't know how they haven't crashed yet. Luza is not giving Leahy any room to operate right now, but yet they still continue to roll on, trying to fight for the top 10.
It is a staging showdown as far as where these drivers are on the racetrack, because you're right, the 4 won't let the 23 down, the 23 won't let the 4 any higher, and when they go into the corner, they just park it on each other's doors. Keegan Leahy, the 2022 or 2021, I should say, series champion, going up against the 4 of Ryan Luza, the 2017 champ. There is a whole lot of eNASCAR veteran experience in this battle for 10th, and it's some of the best stuff you'll see up front. Ottinger is sliding backwards from Michael Conti. There's going to be 6 laps left to go this time by, and we'll watch to see Ken Bolin, Ken Holmes join this action.
I was about to say Graham Bolin has made up a couple of spots here in the last lap, but he could go up and drive by both of these cars because they're racing so hard with one another, and he's gained about a handful here as pitting. Now heading down pit road is Ryan Luza. Did he not add enough fuel?
It has to be that he didn't take it all the way full, because based on the info that we got, Ottinger's crew was talking on the last restart that they had saved enough fuel to go to the distance plus overtime. So what was the difference? Ottinger pitted the same lap that Ryan Luza did. Nonetheless, the 4 has to bow out, head to pit road. That will give brief reprieve to Keegan Leahy in 10th. And now here comes the next challenger, bowling down to the inside of the racetrack at 5 to go.
I think the biggest question is, can anybody else make it? Again, some of those laps I was running as a ghost driver, that was on the bottom of the racetrack. For anybody that's been running the middle or the top, or even your race leader in Michael Conti, I think fuel has to be a little bit of a concern right now. And when we got those string of cautions, you probably weren't necessarily thinking about fuel because you thought that we would go or we would have a string of cautions. But now, if you're Conti, I wouldn't be so sure that you can make it to the end.
The race pace to that point certainly implied that it wasn't going to go all the way, but they had it in their minds, right? When they pitted 64 laps ago, we got that quick yellow. They all immediately started saving fuel. Blake, you referenced earlier how it's more difficult to save fuel if you're a leader like Mike Conti, right? No drafting help to aid you along the way. You mentioned that optimum lap times for fuel efficiency would be on the bottom. We've seen drivers going mid. We've seen drivers going high to protect and play defense. And whatever the number is in the fuel tank of Mike Conti, he needs to make it last only 4.5 more miles.
Well, if you're Malik Ray or Garrett Lowe, you hope these drivers have run out. And I'm sure that, the crew chiefs, the spotters for these drivers have been continually in their ear reminding them about fuel mileage. And remember, Conti, he may not have to back up because he already has a win. He's secure as long as he stays in the top 20 in the playoffs. As now Jordy Lopez Jr., who was sitting way back, is now trying to challenge Mullis for third.
And Jordy Lopez Jr. has been coming quick late in this race on the inside. Mullis, though, not going to let him get through. And as they get tied up in a battle for fourth, that should aid Conti's worries on maybe that number 3 car getting all the way up front, looking for the white flag. There's contact on the back straightaway. No yellow yet. Conti's into the tri-oval. This race is official.
Conti gets to the white flag, but again, the biggest question, can he make it to the end on fuel, or will Ottinger, Lopez, I think Mullis may be slowing. He may be out of gas.
They're all struggling as they come off of turn number 2, but it's the 2014 Series champion looking to get his second race win of 2023. Conti gonna go to lead the last 69 laps. He's under power off of turn 4, and Michael Conti wins at Las Vegas, and 2023 becomes his 5th multi-win season of his long and storied eNASCAR career.
Incredible job by Michael Conti. Drove right through the field. He mentioned how he couldn't save tires, but he did it better than anybody else. Utilized that clean air to his advantage. And this is what the rest of the field wants to see. Repeat winners. Now we have 2 multiple winners in this series, in Conti and in Bobby Zielinski. And again, that continues to open up slots potentially for the playoffs. And I think Conti's laughing. I don't think he's going to have enough fuel to do a burnout here.
In the end, there were only 3 cars who could not make it the distance from the lead lap. Luza, Vincent, and Bias all had to come down and pit in the closing laps. Michael Conti timed it to a T. He joins Zielinski as multi-time winners this season. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And when we talk about the 8 step it away, Blake, at the end of this season, Mike Conti looks like maybe the best we've seen him in quite some time here in 2023.
I remember talking to Michael last year when this next-gen car debuted, and he was as excited then as he had been in years about the potential for him to win races. He kept it true last year, and it continues this year as we look at our Coca-Cola move of the race.
Of course, he leads a lot of laps en route to the end of this race, but remember when it was Malik Ray who stayed out, didn't take the tires. Michael Conti ended up fighting with the 25 of Ottinger down the backstretch, and then as they came off of 4, he made the move to the outside. The 25 could not force the through wide, and he never looked back from that point. There was the quick yellow behind. They started to save fuel, and he was able to make it go in the end 68 laps from his last pit stop to go to the distance. Michael Conti is your race winner tonight at the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Blake, you're caught up with him.
We are caught up with Michael Conti, your race winner tonight. Multiple wins. And you know what, Michael? I got to say, this is a great way to cap off your 200th start in this series. 15 wins. How'd you get it done?
Oh, man, that was tough. I mean, I'm driving around right now, and I just blew the rear tires off of it. But overall, I mean, we had such great pace. The preparation going into this week got it even out. We did better than we did at Milwaukee, and I thought we did as good as we could have done there. So my hat's off to all the Team Conti guys in the background that made this happen. Really good showing for us. Junior Motorsports, WR1, man. This is 2 years in a row at Vegas, a track that was a pain in my butt the first 10 years of my career. So this is awesome. What better way to go out than to win? And now we've got two. So, man, it's super, super cool.
I know you mentioned at the beginning of the year that this would be your last full-time year, but yet with this success, now that you have a second win, is there any second thoughts that are starting to creep in your mind about, well, maybe I don't want to hang this up yet?
Oh, man, this is even better. Like I've said so many times, any professional, whether it's esports, professional sports, whatever it is, you always want to go out doing just as well as you did at the peak of your career. And for the longest time, I thought the peak was years ago. I thought I was done. I thought I was on the downward trend. But this next-gen car has really brought me back into the fold. So I'm thankful for NASCAR for giving us this thing to race. But no, this is it. It's going to be a great way to go out. We're going to have a fantastic rest of the year. We're playoff bound. So, Blake, this is the end, but we still have a long way to go this year. A lot more to accomplish, wins, playoff berth or championship 4 berth. So got a lot to look forward to.
Trying to cement his way into being a championship favorite in 2023. Michael Conti, your winner tonight at Las Vegas, and the man who tried to chase him down there at the end, and Nick Ottinger. We know you two are great friends, but Nick, anything different that maybe you could have done to try and chase down your very good friend and Michael Conti there late?
Well, first off, I want to thank all the 25 supporters out there who are Byron Esports supporters. I could have managed my run a little bit better the first 15, 20 laps, but, everything's hindsight 2020. If you're going to have a long run, you do your best in those moments. So Mikey done a good job managing up front. We were definitely pushing each other a little, probably too hard, I'd say, the first 15, 20 as well. We had a good race with Jimmy behind us. So it's nice to have our cars, finished within the top 4. And, one spot would have been nicer, but, we still got to close out some, weaknesses of ours, in the 25 camp still to some degree. So we're going to keep ironing those things out. And, once we hit our stride, it'll be pretty good, for our team.
Seems to be that way for you here, Nick. But moving forward, I know we're at the halfway point of this season. I know you sport a magnificent lead, nearly 50 points over the playoff cut line, but still yet to get that win. Do you think that will be a requirement to advance to the postseason?
Well, how I look at races is just the next one. So I try not to dwell in, what ifs, as much as possible. At the end of the day, we just do what we can for the next race that presents itself. And, everyone wants to go out and have their goals of winning each race. Well, that's our, Logitech G team's, success, that we want to win. So, end of the day, that's what we're going to try to do, no matter what race it is, what circumstance it is. That's, our number one goal each race. And, we're on the cusp of it. We're just a little bit off, but, we'll put it together.
Former series champ, but he is just looking forward to Darlington in 2 weeks' time. Nick Ottinger for William Byron Esports finishes in second. And the best finishing rookie of this race is Jordy Lopez Jr., dominant early. And Jordy, this has been one heck of a rookie campaign for you. Talk about not just this race, but being able to come into this series and make such a big statement to race up here, gain the respect of a lot of these competitors and these veterans.
To be honest, it's kind of surreal. Like I did not think going into this season that I would be able to kind of compete and try to fight to be in the playoffs. My whole goal was to just make the top 20 and not go back to contender. So it's just a blessing to be able to work with great guys too, like Altis and some Coanda guys, and we just work well together. And I have no complaints, man. I just hope that win comes soon.
Well, it's going to come soon if you continue to run up front, but also talk about working with your teammate and Tucker Minter. Tucker, a race winner this year. You guys came in with the team standings lead, and yet with a third and a fifth between the both of you. I mean, you guys are knocking pretty much on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, man. He's a great driver to use as a benchmark to kind of push myself to be faster and more consistent. So he keeps me on top of my toes, and it's just like a friendly battle between us to see who can score the most points during the season. But like overall, like he works extremely hard, so do I, and we do like a lot of laps together to try to find more speed and try to be able to bring out the best out of the car every race that we can.
Well, the strategy is working as Jordi Lopez Jr. brings it home in third tonight in the Coca-Cola Chevrolet for Team Dillon Esports. He rounds out your podium and, again, is your top finishing rookie. A number of rookies, though, here, Evan, up in the top 10 in this race.
Yeah, a lot of them ran really well. We talk about Conti, Ottinger, and Lopez, the top three. We appreciate their time tonight. Jimmy Mullis comes home P4, but rookies at Minter and Cozy, 5th and 7th. Garrett Maines up 28 spots. He's P6. I know it's not a race win, but Malik Ray, P8, up 25. Good night for him as well.
The fact that Kevin King ended up 11th in this race, I mean, that is just insane. Got wrapped up in a late race incident, no caution, was in 35th and drove up to 11th. That's incredible that Kevin King was able to accomplish that. So a good night for Junior Motorsports.
Yeah, short night too, so pretty impressive that he was able to bounce back so quickly. And then not so great nights for the drivers who weren't able to make it scheduled distance. Of course, Bowden, Doucette, and Zelensky caught up in their share of accidents. They will round out our field of cars tonight. Well, we look forward in 2 weeks' time. Talk about a different challenge and one with such a historic presence, not only here on the surface as one of the tracks that's been around for so long, but on the real world calendar as well, Blake. It's always a good time when you're headed out to Darlington.
I'm really excited about both of these upcoming races. Darlington, just a throwback track, probably has as little grip as any track on the service in iRacing. It's a driver's racetrack, really fun, always puts on great shows in this series. And then Charlotte at the end of the month. It's a really fun month of May for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series.
It is. You're not going to want to miss any of it. Of course, you can go to iRacing.com/eNASCAR to stay in the loop as we inch closer and closer on the road to $300,000. But until next time, that is it for us here tonight from Las Vegas. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing, for our partners at Coca-Cola, Logitech, and more, for everybody behind the scenes tonight who makes this broadcast possible, for our Countdown to Green crew, and of course, for your broadcast team tonight, for James Pike giving us updates from pit road, for Blake McCandless, and myself, Evan Pasoko. I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate two-time race winner this season, Michael Conti. The historic tracks will continue. We've raced at Las Vegas every single season in this eNASCAR calendar, and we've also done the same at Darlington. Stop number 14 to the Darlington Raceway is coming up in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday, May 16th. That race and every race of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Until next time, good night from Las Vegas, where Michael Conti has done it again.